Hello and welcome to Playing Away, episode 5. This week's guest is none other than Don Rimmer, chairman of upcoming opponents Litherland REMYCA. Before we get onto the Litherland REMYCA game, let me just touch on the last couple of results. The lads are absolutely flying, as it would seem. Clean sheets in our last 3 league games, 2-0, 2-0 and 3-0. We caught up with Dave McNabb prior to the REMYCA game, and here's what he had to say about the upcoming fixture.
Next week, trip to Litherland. Your thoughts out of that one?
It seems to be the same thing. It's going to be a tough game. They'll be organised, be physical. Difficult pitch that we've sort of had to play on today as well. So it's going to be a tough game, but we've got a week to plan and prepare for it. So it's good to have sort of a 2 training session week going into those 2 big games coming up next week. So again, try and take confidence in the second half and go again.
Now, before I invite Don on, I'd just like to say the club shop is still up and running. You can get your orders in, get yourself a shirt, get yourself some training gear. I think there are some baseball caps in the works. So grab yourself one of them. But yeah, without further ado, Don, welcome to Playing Away. Can you introduce yourself and tell us about your role and how you got involved at Litherland?
Hi, well, I'm Don Rimmer. I'm the current chairman of Litherland REMYCA, locally known as the Remy. I got involved in the club in 1972-73 as a young sprog, young 20-something. I'd been out playing football in Australia, and I come back, and a few friends introduced me to the club, and by and large, I did have a slight period away to play in what was the Lancashire Combination, which is now the North West Counties. But it's my club, it's in my blood. Remy forever, as they say.
Excellent, excellent. So you've been around, you know the club. What's the story behind the name, the REMYCA? So I've sort of done a bit of reading, but some fans won't know or understand. And I know it has got not an anagram. It's short for something, isn't it? It's
yeah. Well, basically, although we've got Litherland in front of our REMYCA name, we were a Bootle-based team as founded. So, you know, Bootle Seaforth, which is working class dockside area. And there used to be a social club there called the Rem Social, where the older guys would fly their pigeons from the trucks would come and they'd do the pigeon fancying and all of that. And anyhow, they sponsored us. And at the time, we used to train at the local YMCA. So it was an amalgam of Rem and YMCA, and we became REMYCA. And we never used to have the Litherland in front of us. It was REMYCA United. We've always been known as the Remy. But when we came into sort of Northwest Counties and non-league, we, rightly or wrongly, wanted to identify with the local area. And we felt that might encourage people to come along and watch us and so on and so forth. If we had our time again, I'm not too sure we'd have stuck the Litherland in front. But yeah, that's basically the background to the name. And it's the question you ask is the question everyone asks. If they don't know us, where does REMYCA come from? That's more or less it.
There we go.
I'm coincidentally, sorry to cut across you. 2 of the founders were Richards and Edwards, so that fitted in with the Rem as well. So that's more or less it.
Fantastic. And the club was. Am I right in thinking what I've read? The club formed in the 50s. Is that
yeah, right? 59. 59. Yeah. And as I say, it was 2 brothers. One of them's passed on, and the other brother, Ken, who was 88, 89, still does the kit, and he's still with us. So he's a football stalwart, and it's in his blood as well. So
Brilliant.
It's that sort of club in terms of, once you get involved, you sort of tend to stick with it, and it's friends for life, and so on and so forth.
I've spoken to a few clubs, obviously from that neck of the woods over the past few weeks, because there's a lot of you in our league over that way.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
But everybody seems to have quite a good track record with player production. Are there any names that stick out from the REMYCA history that have gone on to play higher or do sort of bigger and better things that you can remember? Any that stick out?
Well, here's one for the older Bury supporters. We, in the early to mid 70s, sent 3 young players over to Bury. These are the names, and I don't know if any of the listeners who were knocking around, because we appreciate the great history that Bury FC's got. But we had an Alan Wolfhall, a Peter Farrell, and a Tony Lee. Now, they all went from the REMYCA production line over to Bury. Now, whether they progressed, I think Alan Wolfhall might have got 1 or 2 first team games. He was the more talented out of the 3. And the other success story for REMYCA was we bought a player called Jack O'Connell through, who was the left centre-back at Sheffield United, and he started at Everton, then Blackburn. I think he was the captain of Rochdale, and he went on to have a successful Premier career. Unfortunately, a knee injury finished his career last year, I think, at the age of 27, 28. Jack's still in touch, a good lad. I think he may reside over your way now. And I think his partner's one of the England left back, Alex Greenwood.
Oh, okay.
So there's a flavour of some of the, the connections and people who we've brought through.
Definitely. And Bury fans, if you can enlighten us any further about those 3 players, let us know in the comments or on the Up the Shakers forum if you're on there. So yeah, there's a lot of talent flows through these lower leagues, and these clubs have got great histories. What's the standout achievement in the REMYCA's history? Any cups, any big league wins?
Well, we were playing what I'd refer to as park football up until 2014, and myself and 1 or 2 others sort of sat down over a beer and thought, well, if you've not got ambition, you've got nothing. And we decided to have a go at non-league. Now, at the time, the North West Counties was 1 Premier Division and one the lower division had 16 teams in. So we made an application, and fair to say, the North West Counties bit our hand off because they were trying to develop and grow their league. Within that period of time, the 8 or 10 years, people are queuing up to come in. But we've never really achieved anything brilliantly successful in the non-league sphere. Safe to say, we fought off relegation in the Premier League for 2 seasons, and at the end of all of that, it felt like we'd won something when we'd actually.
And to go from park football to Counties Premier in 9 years and get through COVID and still be playing, that's an achievement in itself.
Yeah, well, we actually got the promotion 2 seasons in, so and then COVID come, but we've won the Lancashire Amateur Cup twice. I think in one of the finals we beat Wythenshawe Amateurs, who were at the same level.
Yeah.
And in the 90s through to 95, we bossed the amateur scene around Liverpool, winning league and cup doubles season on season. and had teams then who were more than capable of playing at this level. But things were slightly different. Even in the 90s, there was kids queuing up to play football. The culture and the attitude was different, and the area in which we recruited was a hotbed. As I say, it was a working class dockside area, and we had some fantastic players. And it was a supply and demand thing. The academies weren't around. Kids didn't go into academies. They went and played for their local team. So that was all a big part of it.
Players get hoovered up by the academies now, don't they?
Yeah. So you don't see them, and the mums and dads are sort of persuaded by that, and so they don't develop their skills naturally with their friends. It's slightly different, but yeah. So we've always been a club that's been well respected, even on the local Liverpool amateur scene.
Excellent. So this season, onto this season, currently 9th, 12 wins, 12 losses, 4 draws. Is that right?
Yeah. That's about sums the season up in a word. I mean, I've not really looked at it in that sense, stat sense, but yeah, in terms of performances and what we've done and where we've been, that's about right. So we're fair to middling, as it were.
I've not done much digging on last season's squad to this season's squad and managerial, but are you one of the more stable clubs? Have you got retained management and similar squad, or have you had a lot of player turnover? Or
we were unstable till about 2 or 3 seasons ago when we changed manager 2 or 3 times, and then we recruited from within internally, and a guy by the name of Colin MacDonald, who was a former player. He was a centre fireworks, and he's about 39, 40 years of age now. So he decided to hang his boots up about 3 years ago and pitched in for the job. To be fair, we were looking external and looking for experience, and we appointed a very, very experienced person, but he wasn't able to cut it. And it's very important at this level, particularly if you're not ultra rich, that you've got local contacts, you've got your little black book, and you know where the players are and how to source them. And Colin has been able to do that. So the squad improved dramatically last season, and we've retained a huge portion of last year's squad. But what happens is, and we've all been there, the better players, sooner or later, somebody will come in who can offer a bit more in terms of remuneration or whatever. And that's happened to us this season. We've lost 3 or 4, and I've been told today that we've lost a fairly lively forward as well. But you know what? We've learned to live with that, because that's part of the business. That's part of the way it is. And we'll need to go and fish in another pond now to see if we can get replacements.
It's football, isn't it? I mean, we lost a winger to another club, a league higher earlier. Everyone thinks we're on this massive budget, and yeah, we've got a big budget, but we're still getting players poached as well. It's it can happen to any team. It's just part of being in this league at this level, isn't it?
Well, I think non-league football, the amount of money that's knocking around, and God knows where it comes from sometimes, is insane. And players say, "Well, I've been offered this," and you think, "Well, we'll see you later then," because that's just the way it is. And it percolates down from the top levels of football, of course.
Yeah.
And but we don't moan about it, because that's the way it is. And you've got to know your level. You've got to understand what you can afford. Affordability, sustainability is key, and we've learned that quite quickly.
I didn't think there was any players left in Liverpool because David seems to have brought them all over to bloody Bury.
Yeah.
There's more Scousers than there are Manx in our team at the minute.
Well, when I was talking before about fishing in ponds, David, fishes in the pond he knows, and we know him well through coming through Rylands, and even before that, in the Lancashire League and so on and so forth. Yeah, he's a good bloke.
He's such a nice bloke. We've got a fan forum with him tomorrow, so the fans can sort of get to know him a bit better. So that should be good. But this show we're called Playing Away, so we better get on to the match and talk about the match day. So tell us more. What's the name of the ground and where is it?
It's Litherland Sports Park. It's actually based in Litherland on the main thoroughfare, just off the main thoroughfare through to Liverpool Docks or Seaforth Docks. So you basically come down the motorway system, M62, M57 to the junction at the bottom. Take a left going into Liverpool in the docks, and a mile from that junction, Switch Island. You'll hit the ground, which is on the right hand side, with a pub on the left hand side called the Netherton, and you turn down the right and you can't miss it.
If I remember rightly, it's right near the. Is it right near the water, or am I thinking of the ground? I might be thinking of somewhere else.
It's not far from the river.
Yeah.
We get the winds coming across. As you look to your left across the ground, you can see the cranes from the dock. Yeah. But it's a good mile. Yeah.
So what can fans expect on a Saturday afternoon at the Litherland Sports Park? I've got a couple of quick fire questions, so I'll go through them. Can they have a pie?
Yeah, of course they can. Yeah, good pies. Yeah.
Excellent. More importantly, can they get a pint?
They can get a pint. Yeah.
Excellent. Do you do a match day programme?
We do indeed. Yeah.
And how much is a programme?
It's £2.
£2.
Yeah.
And is that on the way in? Just ask on the turnstile.
Yeah. Well, what we'll try and do, we've put online tickets out. What we'll try and do is, obviously there'll be two sort of queues coming in, and we'll make sure there's programs at each entry. Now
I know, because I've been, but explain the facilities. What's it like when you come to Litherland Sports Park? You're quite far away from the action because you've got a sports track.
And look, I'll be honest with people. It's not a typical non-league ground because it's it's a community sports facility. So our pitch is contained within an athletics track. So as a result, we're a bit distant from the pitch itself. So it's not the normal 3 meters from the touch line, and that's not great. And but it is what it is. We've set up a small clubhouse, but what we're going to the main toilet facilities in the main reception area. This centre was completed in 2006. It's fairly modern, but toileting means you walk back into reception, which is not ideal. So we're going to make sure we get some portaloos on site. We're going to make sure that we get 2 or 3 catering points and drink stations. In anticipation of the numbers who might turn up. So we'll give it our best shot, and we'll try and make things as comfortable for people as we can.
I think our fans, when we came with Bury AFC, had a brilliant time in the stand away, facing the dugouts. I remember I was sort of sat in no man's land doing the Twitter between the track and the stand on a little table. It was good. It was a good day out, and they made a lot of noise, even though there was only a few of them. And there'll probably be more this time, so it'll be a good crack. I've got one last question about the ground.
Yeah.
Parking. What's your advice for parking?
Right. There's approximately 150 parking spaces, but I mean, look, the the public, the general public, is still allowed to go in to access gyms upstairs and so on and so forth. Now, it's not that busy of a Saturday afternoon. We've also made a request that all other bookings are stopped, which they've agreed to. There's adjacent to where we play. There's a small 3G pitch, and I think their game finishes around about 1 o'clock. So there's 150 spaces. There's disabled, allocated or marked disabled spaces as well, but they do fill up on, on demand really. So it's parking. It's not the worst, but 150. If we're anticipating more people, it might be difficult. Okay. You can park in a pub opposite and walk across. It's about 10 minutes. And normally when all the kids' leagues are there on a Sunday morning, you'll find that they park onto the grass verge. I mean, ideally they shouldn't, but any port in a storm sort of thing.
It's a case of if they can't get on the car park and they have to park elsewhere, be respectful of the neighbours. And
absolutely, yeah. There's there's a golf course immediately opposite, and parking's not great, but as I say, it's the perennial problem, isn't it, of football games and parking and so on and so forth. I mean, I believe you went to Marine the other week. Well, there's virtually no parking there.
No, when we went to Marine, we got there really early, and we still had to park 6 miles away and carry all the gear. It wasn't fun. I've got one last question. Our fan liaison officer Nicola has obviously been in touch with the club, and I read briefly that there's somewhere nearby that you recommend to grab a drink and a bite to eat before the game. But is that the Nethermore? Is it?
It's the Netherton,
Netherton.
Yeah. Look, the food that we serve is the classic non-league football bar food. Yeah. What I was suggesting, if anyone wants to sit down, fish and chips or a curry or something like that, that's a Hungry Horse brand, and that's actually on the main road as you come to turn right into where our place is situated. But you may have to. It's the Netherton, and you may have to book. Yeah.
What time will you be opening the turnstiles?
We'll be there most of the morning, and we'll be there around about. We'll be ready for business. I'd suggest around about 12:30.
So if they get there any time after that and they want to head to the ground and have a beer, is that?
Yeah, and we'll have a natter to them and have a bit of a crack. And look, you'll get the friendliest of welcomes.
Definitely.
As I say, AFC have been before, and we had a good crack with them. We appreciate there may be a few more, but we're a very honest, genuine, and humble club, and we're excited about you coming to see us, as we were excited about going to play at Gig Lane, which was a big deal for us.
It was a good day.
Yeah.
On to Saturday and on to the game, on to matters on the pitch. What sort of game are you expecting on Saturday? Obviously, the pitch will probably play a factor because they're heavy at this time of the year, aren't they? So,
yeah, and they're not the best surfaces, and we've, as I say, we ideally over Christmas and New Year, the match referees came and sort of said, "Oh, this pitch is playable, and you have to play on it," and then it's cut up and all of that. So, yeah, I think there'll be more back to front than we normally try and get on the ball. Well, I think we've met twice or 3 times.
Well, we've played twice as AFC and once as FC. So
yeah, and I mean, I think you'll agree the 3 games have been fairly close. 1-0, 1-0, and we had a good first half at Gig Lane, and then you put the afterburners on and done us in the second half. Fair dues.
There's no easy games. I'll definitely say that. Always one I ask. Any fan favourites or one to watch amongst the Litherland players that our lot should keep an eye on, that they might enjoy watching? Any standout players?
Well, we did have a centre forward called Bobby Grant, who's an ex-pro, I think.
Bobby was at Ratcliffe, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was at Radcliffe, and I think he had the manager's job and he left. But he's local to us. He lives local to us, and there's some family connections. So, but I'm not sure whether he's going to be available. But he's popped a couple in for us this season from 25, 30 yards, and there's a young kid up front who's, I think he scored against you, Gig Lane, Elliot Taylor. Young kid, young forward, willing runner, nice player, nice lad as well. And we've got a young Irish centre back who I think will go higher in the game. Paddy Kennedy. But these are part of. Hopefully these are players that we can grow, develop, and try and keep as long as we can. But we never stand in their way because. Part of what you do in non-league is if somebody's got the ability and the wherewithal, you send them on their way and get them.
Well, that's it. And if you can do that and you can grow a player and send them higher up the leagues, that's a good flag to other young players to come to your club.
Yeah, absolutely.
Score prediction. Do you want to give me one? Do you not? I ask now. I don't just ask if I ask you for it. I ask if you want to give me one.
You're definitely favourites. I think your team's getting stronger. You've got, a proper manager behind you who'll take time, but he'll build it. I think we'll score against you. It's whether we can keep it out the other end. So I'm going to risk it. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw.
I want to say we'll probably edge it, but it'll be a late 3-2. A late 3-2.
Okay. If it's a late 3-2, that would be a cracking game too.
We seem to be a second half team at the minute. It just seems to be the way it's going.
Sorry, I can agree with that because that's what happened at Big Lane when we played. Yeah. But it was the second half when we got a bit of a dodgy penalty decision against us, I thought, in that game. But
less we comment on officiating, the better.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you on that too. Yeah.
I don't want to get myself in trouble.
No.
The last question that I have, and the final question, bit of a philosophical one. What is the one thing you would say to someone that hasn't been to support the local non-league football team to get them to come down and give it a try and get involved?
Well, I think you're going to.
I thought you were going to say don't then.
No. If you want to meet real people, honest, down-to-earth people, and if you want to make friends for life and enjoy your football without VAR and all pretense of the high levels, get down to your local non-league club. And if you really want to get involved, make inquiries, become a volunteer, and get yourself into the heart of the club. You'll never regret it.
Perfect. Couldn't have put that better myself, to be honest. Really well said. Don, I thank you for coming on. And
thanks for inviting me.
You're most welcome, and I hope as many Bury fans travel over to Litherland as possible on Saturday, and we make a bit of a party of it, and we have a good game.
Brilliant. We're looking forward to you coming. It's a big deal for us, and we're going to get the bunting out and give you the best experience that we can.
Massive thanks to Don for coming and speaking to me today about our upcoming game. For those that are travelling over, make sure you take advice on parking and be respectful of the neighbours if you have to park elsewhere, if the car park's full when you get there. Tickets are available online. There'll be a link in the description of this video. Go there, get your tickets. You can pay on the gate. But yeah, no, that's it. I'll see you in Litherland.